Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the X-Force Global channel. Today, we're going to be going over Ethereum, our first altcoin analysis of the channel. So, without any further ado, let's talk about the bullish and bearish scenarios. Now, Ethereum is portraying a very different picture here, and the reason why is because Ethereum didn't breach the all-time highs. So that gives us a little bit of more leeway room in terms of what options and scenarios we can play with, right? Meaning that there is still a possible transitional phase that we might be going back into bear market territory if in the case that Bitcoin doesn't do it. So Bitcoin is clutching the current market right now with, not only the halving, but also just overall momentum. It's been keeping up with these other altcoins as well, keeping these markets up essentially, and has been giving a lot of strong detours within the markets. We originally anticipated a pullback of some caliber, right, of a 1-2 of some sort, before we created these series of 1-2s. This is the only way we can label them right now. But due to that structure of being Bitcoin just massively moving up when we had that move to the upside and breaching all-time highs, this is what helped Ethereum continue its move, right? That wasn't the expectation originally for many people, especially for Ethereum, just due to so many overlaps that we had over here. And overall look of having a primary degree 1-2 being larger in time than our previous 1-2, not necessarily in size, but still in time. But it still didn't really give that proper look of a 1-2 being made. But it is what it is. This is characteristic of some kind of nested structure being built up for a possible continuation, extension into a wave 3, and we'll go over that. But before we go over that, I want to talk about what our prior expectation was. And speaking of what I was talking about right now, why we had so many overlapping structures here. What I originally would have anticipated, I don't personally trade Ethereum, but if we look at this was awfully looking like some kind of leading diagonal, right? If we had a leading diagonal, we had everything set up properly looking nice. We had a 5 here, we had a 3 here, another 5 here, 3 here, and a 5-way move up here. And that would have been a very good continuation, in my opinion, or a confidence booster if we were going to go down for a 1-2 of a large caliber of some sort and then blast out. But we didn't get that. And that's what I meant by Bitcoin clutching the markets. We had a very nice setup for what could have been looking like a nice diagonal setup here. Should be here. Then what Bitcoin was anticipating and giving us another move to the upside. No complaints, right? But it still gives us, the higher we move up, the more expectations and more overall general kind of expectation we need for a bull market continuation. It gets more difficult, especially now that we have to only work with what we're given with, which is a possible 1-2 being made. And there is no really other way of labeling this as a 1-2 of a larger extension other than having this as a nested structure. So with that being said, this bullish scenario, we have the first series of 1-2s. Since time has passed so much, now we are in a different phase right now, right? These series of 1-2s are now being created in terms of this nested internal structure here. So what that means is the corrections have to be far more shallow. They don't have to be, but it still has to be what's considered creating at least some kind of parabolic move for a wave 3 of the primary degree extension. And the only way I can fit that in is via this 1-2, 3, 4, which is now very close to invalidation, coming into the price territory of wave 1 of this wave 4. In fact, I'm even possibly expecting one more move down, because if we look on the short time frames, which I'll go over in just a moment, is that we're expecting one more move of a 5th wave, which would be very close to this of an invalidation. Remember, it's still valid. It just, you have to start building up alternative scenarios from that point on, right? And in fact, we should be creating an alternative scenario as we speak because it's already so close to invalidation. But so it is what it is. And if we're going to be continuing the bull market, in a perfect scenario, for this specific scenario, we would want to expect wave 5 to be highly extended. Now, the reason for that is because it's based on wavelengths. If we have just simply put, I don't want to go over everything. This is going to be quite advanced anyways. You just want to read the Elliott wave principle book based on how wavelengths work, and is all based on Fibonacci as well. We have a pretty equal looking, well, it is equal at this point, of a wave 1 intermediate degree and wave 3 intermediate degree, just like what we saw for a possible scenario on Bitcoin in our previous videos. Since wave 1 is equal in length with wave 3, if in fact we're done with this correction, internally this looks like this is a very textbook ABC or WXY pullback. If we're done, is we want to be expecting a 5th wave extension because these are equal in length. And when you have equal in length of this, we're going to be expecting a wave 5 extension. Now, if that happens, it's all fair game. This is going to now start looking far better and increase our probability of a very strong bullish outcome. Why? Because, again, we're working with this internal degree of the 1, 2, and extended primary 3. So whatever happens in the next few months is going to be crucial. We need to move up very soon, and we need to be creating at least some kind of momentum for a wave 3 being built up for this degree, because it gets far less probable if we start correcting more and more and more, and that gives us a different scenario and creates different alternatives, and it's going to be a whole different mess. So if we do create that 5th wave extension, then we can come back into the previous territory of wave 4, create that primary 5, and that will create the overall internal degree of the cycle degree, meaning that this is now going to be completed as the 5-wave move, okay? Now, if that happens, what's next? If this is now finished, we're now going to be completing this possible move here for that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a very nice looking bull run, not only bull run, but a very nice nested structure, all right? Ideally, I don't want to, we can sit here all day and talk about the internal counts of the current count. Originally, I did anticipate this being a 1, 2, but after doing a few measurements, I think that we did pass the 1, 2, 3, 6 and 1, 3, 8, 2, so I don't deem this as some sideways combo even. I don't like to see any B wave or X wave surpassing the 1, 3, 8, 2. It just, to me, that is surpassing the idea, crossing the line of what market inefficiencies are. I think this was definitely a pullback. It's telling us that there was some kind of marking of territory from the bears. So that sharp correction pullback is what I would expect as a 1, 2. Any further down past that 1, 2, we're going to have to go into what might be a possible bearish scenario. So that is how we would continue our nested structure. We really need to get the F out of here and create some kind of extension 5 of an intermediate degree. This is the only way I would be very confident in Ethereum. But otherwise, if we're going to, continue with our market inefficiencies and say that this is a 1, 2 here, it's not a good looking one, because it's not any further away from where wave 4 could overlap. It's still, to me, too deep of a wave 4 just in general. So we have to work with expectations here. But again, Bitcoin is clutching the markets. You have to work with all these combinations of what Bitcoin is telling us, what the cycle flow of cash flow is looking like from altcoins, where dominance might be going down. And that might give us a clue that maybe wave 4 is actually in, or very close to being in. It happens. There's many instances where, altcoins do go for a very deep wave 4, because it doesn't make it invalid. It just makes it unlikely. That's all. And then we continue up. But this is still my overall expectation of the markets, just due to the fact that Bitcoin is still bullish in its bullish phase. We had 3 out of 4 scenarios being bullish, only one portraying a possible flat scenario of a large caliber, where Bitcoin goes back to its bear market territory. That would help solidify what the bear market bearish scenario is. So what is that bearish scenario? So if that 1, 2, 1, 2 doesn't play out, I would suspect that we are in some kind of double zigzag scenario once again, where we had an ABC going down into wave W, ABC going into wave W of the internal degree of X. Same idea of the internal structure here. This hasn't changed. So this was a transitional phase, and that is what gives us more confidence in what could be the hybrid idea of the 1-2-1-2 scenario. Instead of saying that this was a 1-2-3, this looks not bad as a 1-2-3 of a three-wave looking structure into what could be a wave Y of a wave X. Now, why is that? It all meets the Fibonacci requirements. 1, 2, 3, 6 extensions. We also have the ratio of the A to the C hitting the 1-on-1 extension, just very slightly above it. And we are also in what is a very, very important golden Fibonacci ratio zone, which is the 786 and the 886. It surpasses 618, but the 786 and 886 is a very common target within the crypto markets of deep retracements. So if that's going to be happening, I think that Ethereum has a far better look than what Bitcoin has in terms of what we can solidify as a larger double zigzag scenario, right? I think this has a far better look than what Bitcoin is currently painting the picture, right? And the only way we can continue this idea is if Bitcoin negates all three of the bullish scenarios and goes for the flat scenario. But since that is not the probability, we still, no matter how good of a look this is, just like we had with that same idea of that diagonal scenario where it had the perfect look, is that market inefficiencies are going to happen. And I think that we might actually just continue up. So that is my overall thesis on how this is all intertwining with each other. This bear scenario, although it does have the best look to it, I think that the bullish scenario is somehow going to be saved, somehow or some form, where we're going to see this 1-2-1-2 being played out. Maybe we'll get that fifth wave extension. If markets aren't rational, it's still valid where we still have a short fifth wave and we go for a fourth wave. All we have to do is make a few minor adjustments within internal counts, and we're still working in what could be the bull market. And since Bitcoin also broke the all-time high, maybe the expectation is Ethereum is also going to break its all-time high as well. And I think this scenario, that is how we have to manage the expectation for this scenario. And in order for us to say that we're going to be going down, it really needs to move down for Bitcoin as well at the same time. So if we zoom in, if we're going to be considering the bullish scenario, I do like the idea that a wave 4 is completed. Okay? Meaning that we have an A, B, and C completed. Okay? We have a WXY being created here, A, B, C being completed for wave 4. Or if we're going to be really monitoring internal counts, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4 being created, and we just go for another fifth to the downside. So wave 4 could be technically in, or it could be technically creating one more low. But that would be very close to where wave 1 territory is. Again, you see, this is where Ethereum gets very tricky. So we really need to be focusing on the idea that Bitcoin or Ethereum has to move out pretty much now, right? So if that's the case, we're going to be looking for that 1 and then continuation to the upside, creating another extension for wave 5th of the intermediate degree. Like I said, we want that to be extending as much as it can, and that would create this wave 3 of the primary degree. So this ABC pullback is going to be what we're going to be looking for, whether it's completed or not, within the next few weeks or so. Now for the bear scenario, just as likely, I really like the idea of this bear scenario. I don't know why, but we can easily just say that this is a 1-2 being created, right? Replace the idea of that 1-2 or the AB as a 1-2, and then we're working for wave 3 and 4 and 5, which would help create the first leg of that A wave, or maybe even a further 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into that. So if that's the case, what would be next if this 1-2? Well, we have a pretty nice looking structure. It gives us a little bit more leeway on the shorter time frames, right? Because we could say that this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're creating another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into this degree here. So I think again, the bear scenario also has a lot. It's almost the same weight as what we're seeing for the bullish scenario, but just due to the fact that we have to manage expectations of Bitcoin also going higher, I think that we have to stick with what the bullish scenario is going to be giving us, and we're going to get some kind of fake out or another detour where we originally anticipate a bearish outcome, but bullish momentum continues. It just happens sometimes, and I think that is going to be the case. But I won't be surprised if the bearish scenario continues, just due to the fact that there's so much evidence being combined, right? Meaning that we hit the 786 and the 886 Fibonacci zone. We have a very good internal looking structure here. But there was a problem with this one, because the reason why I also feel that way is if we look at Bitcoin, for example, we had that same problem here, right? Where we originally anticipated this being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We were anticipating wave being completed here for wave B, right? Or that is exactly what we were looking for at that period of time. Because if we pull this up and remove this, we saw that same idea. This looks exactly what Ethereum is looking like, right? Because if we do that, then we could have also said that this was an A, this was a B, and this was a C. This is exactly what Ethereum is showing us. Is that going to be following the same path as Bitcoin, right? That is exactly what we're looking for. A, B, C of the internal degree. At this point in time, we were also looking for that 1-on-1 golden ratio of the A to the C. We were also looking for that Fibonacci retracement of the golden Fibonacci ratio zone, which was a 618, which hit it exactly. So everything was being set up exactly how we wanted it to be. But it didn't happen. What happened was markets continued up. And maybe that is exactly what we're going to be looking for at Ethereum in terms of managing expectations. Okay? So hopefully that was helpful, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for participating and watching the video. I'll make sure to have another Bitcoin update. If you're not following me on social media, please do follow me on social media at X or Twitter at X-Force Global. If you want to join the X-Force Global Discord membership, link is also in the description. Please do contact me anytime. And hopefully I'll see you guys in a few days. Thank you very much. Goodbye.